Good morning. It is 6:12 a.m. on Wednesday, January 20th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, I did manage to go ahead and not only go to bed a little earlier last night, but to shift my bedtime or my alarm, my get up time back to where I want it to generally be. Uh, Yesterday was a hard day. It was just kind of stressful. It seemed like just a lot of stuff that had seemed like it was under control kind of started blowing up on me. And, it's a little bit of a lesson for me that I sometimes have a tendency to panic in those sorts of situations. And I don't want to say panic as I don't want to I don't want it to be like hyperbole, and so it's not like I had a total meltdown or anything, but I was certainly feeling stressed as a result. Just, things at work where it's kind of like, okay, well, so I've got all these different things going on. This one is fun because it's just routing for signatures. That one is fun because this is what we're going to do. And then just having a couple of them all kind of start to have their own respective uh, emergencies and kind of all happening at once was a little frustrating. And then it just kind of like, the cherry on top of the crap sundae was that I had spent a good chunk of the day sort of looking ahead to say, well, at least the Ghostbusters level pack for LEGO Dimensions is supposed to be delivered today. So I'm going to look forward to that tonight. Once I'm all done with this, I'm going to go home and I'm going to play that, and it'll be fun. And then I check my email and I get a delay notification from Amazon. On the day that it was supposed to be delivered, I get a notification that, oh, sorry, delayed. It won't actually show up now until the new delivery window is February 17th through the 24th. So that's like a month away. That's, I don't want to give Amazon too hard a time because usually they do pretty well for me. I've not had a lot of problems with them in the past, so, if we talk about batting averages, it's still pretty high. But that's kind of BS, isn't it? You know what? Like, I understand something getting back ordered, like more people order it than they expect, or maybe somehow this shipment of units that they were expecting to get was less than they thought it was going to be. I'm sure that there's actually a good reason why, for whatever, what they were not able to send it to me. And yet, I can't help but feel like getting that notification that it's going to be that long, and getting the notification on the day that it was supposed to arrive, like, at the very least, shouldn't they have known when they weren't able, like, they would have had to ship, they couldn't have shipped it yesterday to arrive yesterday. So at the very least, wouldn't they have known that they weren't able to ship it on the timeline that they were supposed to? So, I don't know. That was irritating. But yeah, so and that was just one of those things too where it just kind of felt like the capper on just like, what next? Ugh. But, these things happen. What are you gonna do? So, uh, after getting home and working on the latest installment of Phyllis Esposito Interdimensional Private Eye, I played a game called Undertale instead. And I know it's not too long, so I think I'm not going to really get into discussion of it until I've finished it. Especially because although I don't know what the twist or ending or whatever is, I know that I've heard lots of people talk about feeling like the ending of that game is really powerful. So I'm gonna reserve final judgment until I get there. But at the very front end of it, at least, the parts that I've played already, it feels like it's sort of a take on or deconstruction of some of those old school turn-based RPGs like Final Fantasy or something like that, where one of the sort of twists to it is that there's all these monsters where you don't, like, you can fight them, but with every monster there's always going to be a way that you can get past them without having to fight or kill them. And that's kind of neat because and there's a lot of humor in the game. It's very silly in many places, and so for example, what'll happen is, like, let's say you are attacked by a moldoid and oh shoot, I don't remember the other name thing, but it's like this little it looks like just a jello mold that's wobbling at you, and then a little cockroach-like bug who's going hee 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 hee, that sort of thing. And if you check each of them, which is just like inspect them, like look at them, see what you can see about them, it'll say like the moldoid is like just wobbling peacefully, and then it'll say like the bug isn't a bad guy, but he's with the wrong crowd. And it's like, okay, so while you've checked them, you're taking your turns to do that, and so they're attacking you. But then one of the things that you can do with the Jello mold is to imitate it, which just means you kind of just lay next to it and wobble with it a little bit, and then once you do that, it chills out, and you can spare it, and it'll just like, oh, and it'll go away, and you can just say, oh, no, it's left. And then once it's left, you know, the bug, it said it was with the wrong crowd, and so once you have spared the Jello mold, the bug, instead of attacking you, now just does a little dance. and so then you can spare him too. And so that's just an example of like all these different encounters. You could have just hit them with a stick until they were dead, or you figure out what's the sort of little chain of actions that leads to you know, the outcome that you want. And like there's like, and some of them get really silly. Like there's one where there's this weird little enemy, and what he'll say when he's attacking is, "Hey, don't pick on me." And then when you look at what so you have your fight, but then there's the act menu, and it's like, well, what are your two acts? One of them is pick on, the other one is don't pick on. And when you choose don't pick on, he goes, finally, someone gets it, and then he stops attacking you, and you can spare him. It's pretty silly. And it's got a lot of other just things where it sort of plays with the tropes of those sorts of games. I'm digging it so far, but there's going to be more I'll have to say about it, I'm sure, once I've finished it. So, we'll see. We'll talk about that in the future. 8 minutes? What the okay. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.